Handsome Hockey Podcast. 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 Handsome Hockey Podcast.
Handsome Hockey Podcast.
It is time.
It is time for the hockey. With that, it's episode 72 of the Handsome Hockey Podcast here in desolate, rainy, dreary, cold, broken Portland, Oregon.
It's gray.
Yeah, until July.
This is when the seasonal affective disorder really starts to set in. It's like, sunlight, that's nice. I only get 20 more seconds of it.
You watch Portlanders run out of their houses and apartments and just like strip down into their skivvies, and they're like, and then the cold gets them and they have to quickly rustle the clothes back on.
Right. Your scheduled sunshine today will be from 3:30 to 4:20 p.m.
Give or take 50 minutes. Last Saturday, the sunshine was showing, and I know we're a hockey podcast, but first and foremost, I'm a Michigan Wolverine, and I just got to say, the sun was shining in Columbus, Ohio this weekend, where the Michigan Wolverines beat the ever-living shit out of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
It was decisive. It was very decisive. And then they partied it up very well. They planted the flag on the Ohio O.
They slid around on the ice at Yost Ice Arena when they returned home.
Which is so funny, because, like, okay, Jim Harbaugh, he like comes out and he's like waving his whole team onto the ice, and you see the ref like, no, go back, get out of here.
Yeah.
And these football players just coming in.
And Jim's like, nah, this is us. Sorry. JJ McCarthy walked over to Eric Portillo and like gave him a bro hug in his crease. Like, you know, the hockey team's just thinking, you know, we're really good too.
Yeah, these are things that you can get away with in college and maybe at the Arizona State / Arizona Coyotes rink, but probably nowhere else in hockey.
Yeah, I don't see this happening at Miami of Ohio anytime soon.
No, unlikely. But yeah, go Michigan, boo Ohio State for more reasons than just football.
And for this Saturday only, fuck Purdue.
As us Illinois graduates like to say, perdon't.
Yeah. Isn't Perdue in French to lose?
I think so.
Yeah.
And also to like, Purdue is American for making a bunch of money selling opioids to people that are probably, you know, also addicted.
Perfect. Yeah. So, you know what? All around, you know what's stupid? Giant drums, engineering schools, and West Lafayette, Indiana. On top of Ohio State sucking at football, I mean, they're only 11-1 and going to the Fiesta Bowl.
I mean, that's effective loserdom for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's so great is their butthole is so tight. They lose 2 games or 1 game in a season, and, well, it's over, and time to tear the whole thing down. Ohio State, also shitty to people in hockey.
It turns out this happened a while ago, but like didn't really receive a whole lot of traction.
Which is part of the problem because...
Part of the problem, yes.
Yeah, so Ohio State player Camille Sadloka allegedly called Jagger Joshua on Michigan State a racial slur during the game and was overheard by a referee who immediately got in between them, assessed a game misconduct penalty, and sent Camille Sadloka, now more sad than Loka, home. And he got sent home from the team.
Sent home. He has not been kicked off the team.
Sorry. Yeah, I misspoke.
Yeah, I think we can drop the allegedly here. Like, he was assessed a penalty in the game. Like, he did this.
Right. And what's very kind of, I don't know, funny, sad, telling is Ohio State immediately goes into like PR defense mode and just puts out these like verbal diarrhea press releases. Oh, you know, we decry this, but also they kind of defend the guy saying, well, there's not it's not caught on camera, you know, we don't have a recording of it, and so there's not definitive evidence. I mean, generally, at least in my refereeing experience, if the referee witnesses something and assesses a punishment, that's all you need. That's like the judge of the game, they're who you have adjudicate the game. Like, who else do you need to hear it from that this guy said something distasteful and offensive? Like, I don't know. It's kind of amazing that Ohio State and the Big Ten have kind of buried this and forced Jagger Joshua and his brother to basically tweet the Big Ten control over their hockey league into oblivion.
It's even more embarrassing because the Big Ten then actually did an investigation, scare quotes investigation, and did not punish anybody further. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, they did send this kid off the team, and who knows what happens for team punishment. Like, maybe the Big Ten is saying, okay, he's being punished appropriately by the team. We don't need to level any additional things, but they're also kind of fumbling the ball and
they're punting.
Showing that, that they that they're kind of powerless, I guess.
Powerless or just unwilling. And either way, I mean, I know the Big Ten babies Ohio State in all facets of the game, but come the fuck on, man. Like, this is a moment for you to step up and say, you know what? These are our values. This is the punishment. Mm-hmm. This is our statement. And instead, they were just like, oh, no further punishment at this time.
Right. And
that's it.
You could have just suspended him indefinitely for the rest of the year, as that would be fucking performative, but also send a message. And they declined to even send a message. Just suspend him as long as the team suspends him. Like, you still have some sort of ethical high ground then, but no, we're just going to defer and pretend like this didn't happen. And also send these weird mixed messages saying, well, we sort of don't think that this is that bad because we don't have definitive evidence and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, come on, you guys, this is so fucking obvious. Stand by your referee.
That's definitely another thing. You're throwing your ref under the bus here.
Right. They talked about this on Puck Soups. Maybe they cornered this guy in a room and got him to say, well, maybe I didn't hear what I heard. But yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
It's just, it's a dark stain all overall for the league, for the Big Ten. You're the Big Ten hockey conference, but only 6 of your members play hockey.
Yeah.
And you're trying to grow this sport and, prove that you are yourself a place where students or where parents want to send their children, but failing miserably. That's the other thing is he's a student athlete. He's not a paid professional. You can suspend him all you want.
Exactly.
There's no financial repercussions here. He's not getting paid to play college hockey. He's going to school. So you suspend him. He just stays at school, and then he can play next year.
Unlike the football team, he is there to play school.
Yeah, he has to, yeah. Although, honestly, I think all the athletes at Ohio State are just hanging out.
Their hockey team's not good enough. I think he probably actually has to go to class.
Their women's hockey team is.
Yeah, sure. They are very good, but I bet all of those women also go to class because their future is dependent on more than just their hockey skill, as opposed to Michigan. Okay, sidebar. What would be the weirdest Big Ten school to add a hockey team to?
So we got Northwestern.
That's in Chicago.
Illinois. I think my first guess is Iowa.
I was going to say, it's got to be Iowa. That's so fucking
Nebraska
funny.
Has... Nebraska Omaha already has a team, so it's not unprecedented in that state.
But that's also... Oh, wait, no. The Alabama team. That's the really weird one.
Alabama Huntsville and Arizona State.
Right. But I mean, the Alabama Huntsville one, there's a specific reason why they had a hockey team going back a long time, and it has to do with the Manhattan Project.
Oh.
You know that?
No.
The story? Yeah, so there's a... if I remember this correctly, they moved a bunch of people outside of Huntsville to a big base for operations, and a lot of them were either Canadian or European or something, and so there was a hockey culture that sort of started, and that's where this university hockey team comes from.
Oh,
Arizona State, just a money grab, but
Penn State, money grab. To kind of put a close on this, it's just it's an embarrassing black eye for the Big Ten Conference. And, as a conference that always talks about the biggest and best or brightest and best and whatever, leaders and best, that's Michigan's fight song. So I guess that doesn't really apply here. But like, it's an embarrassment for hockey, for the Big Ten. And, it just goes to show how far we have to go in hockey culture when a conference that is presumably not run by old hockey guys comes to the same conclusion as the NHL, which is run by old hockey guys.
Well, surprise, old football guys and old hockey guys, not all that different.
The commissioner's black.
That's true, but he has to answer to a bunch of very rich old football guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the whole thing about like Jerry Jones coming out this week.
No.
There's a photo of him in high school as part of a band of guys trying to keep black students from integrating their high school.
Oh.
So, like this shit is not old news. Now he runs the Dallas Cowboys. Like,
yeah. All right, that's enough of this. We don't intersperse happy with the sad. We're just like, let's get all the sad out of the way, and then we'll do the happy later. And in this case, the sad is Borje Salming passed away due to complications with ALS this past week. Salming is like the number one pioneer of European players playing in North America. He was an absolute phenom on the ice. If you watch guys like Cal McCarr, guys like Erik Karlsson in his prime, which happens to be this year, about more later, Salming is the archetype. Like, he was a beautiful skater, great stick handler, could take the puck end to end seemingly whenever he wanted. But one of the qualities that allowed him to play in the NHL, which at the time was like a war zone.
You could just beat people at random. Yeah.
You could probably have a gun. Like, like it was sitting on the bench next to your bottle of Beefeater gin.
And your pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. But Salming could also hold his own physically. He wasn't a tough guy by any stretch, but the fact that he could hold up and the fact that he could endure in the toughest league in the world really paved the way for not only just Swedish but European players in general to come over and start playing in the NHL. And by the time he finished his career, Europeans in the NHL was kind of a regular thing. And for a guy who was one of the first European stars of the NHL, especially in a market like Toronto, his passing leaves a big hole in the hockey universe. Nick Lidstrom was just recently named the best player in Swedish hockey history. But Salming was the other defenseman on that team.
Okay.
And so on their starting lineup. And so you see like just how highly regarded he is in his homeland. The Toronto Maple Leafs had just recently had a big thing for him. And this all of these things kind of just happened to happen, unfortunately, right before Salming's passing. He didn't really know he had ALS until earlier this year. And it was a very quick decline for him. Obviously, a tragic loss for the hockey world and more so for his family and loved ones. And, we've unfortunately had to cover the passing of a number of legends in the game since we've started this podcast. And Salming is just right up there as like both from a skill, but also an influence. Like maybe one of the most influential players in NHL history, just in the fact that he opened the gates for Europe to come and play in the NHL.
Yeah, it was really nice that, knowing that he was sick, that the Maple Leafs were able to bring him and some other big name stars to this Hall of Fame kind of ceremony that they had. And even, crippled by ALS, one of his compatriots was able to raise his hand for him, and he got a standing ovation. And, the fans got to send him off in a way that a lot of people don't get late in life. So that was very touching. A testament to his toughness, I think, is amazing. I mean, the guy had like an absolute kind of grizzled hockey face. And one of the ways that he got that was he got his face stepped on by a skate. There's pictures, gruesome pictures online of him getting like 200 stitches between his, like, above his eyelid to the side of his mouth because someone sliced his face open with his fucking skate in the middle of a brawl. Like, the guy was an absolute badass. And he's got a really awesome statue in Toronto of him jumping over the boards. All the things you said, everybody loved him. It sucks to see him go, but he lived an amazing life and no doubt will be missed by many. Also in bad news, but maybe sort of retribution level bad news. Rachel Doerrie has filed a discrimination lawsuit against the Vancouver Canucks and more directly against Assistant General Manager Emilie Castonguay. The suit alleges that Doerrie was fired because of her sex as well as her mental and physical disabilities, which were documented as a part of her workplace. And she just has some anxiety, mental health issues, kind of run-of-the-mill things that
she has PTSD.
PTSD. She just wanted some kind of basic, accommodations in her job. And I think she was probably, I don't know, maybe given them for some portions of it, but like.
So in the release, in her filing, she says that she was entertaining offers from several NHL teams at the time. Mm-hmm. And so part of the reason why she chose Vancouver was because they were very open about how they would do everything in their power to create an atmosphere and a work environment that would not trigger her physical and mental disabilities.
And she probably saw, Emilie and other women get hired in the Vancouver front office and thought, okay, this is probably the safest space available. Well, turns out, according to her, Emilie went full-on girl boss on her.
It's because women hate other women.
It's
like they can't see each other be happy.
It does seem to be that way sometimes, does it? Yeah, I mean, at least in this professional world, or at least in the high-pressure professional world of sports, it does kind of seem like there is a lot of motivation for women to throw each other out of the boat to save themselves in some ways. Yeah. And
notably, in this case, Rachel was fired like less than a month after she got, well, I guess it was like 2 months, but like 2 months after she got a promotion within the organization for being an incredibly good employee.
Yeah. In her suit, she details a lot of praise she got. And it turns out that the Canucks' cause, according to her, was that she had a off-the-record conversation with a friend in media about her promotion. Like, it's like the Canucks fired someone for using LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. And she also posted the link or posted the story about her article promotion in her own, not the Canucks, in her own personal social media.
Right. Meanwhile, Mike Yeo, also on staff, did the same thing. Still employed.
Yeah. And the crux of this is that in a meeting between Castonguay and Rachel Doerrie, Castonguay said that she didn't think that she had the aptitude to do the job mentally, which is not something you say to somebody who has a documented mental disability.
No, not at all.
I also said that because of the fact that Rachel had posted this article that talked about Bruce Boudreau praising her openly in an interview, that Rachel Doerrie was not important enough to be cared about, and no one in the media is your friend.
Yeah. I mean, sure, it's important for sports people to approach the media with caution and give them, be judicious about what information that they give the media. But this is information about her fucking promotion. Nothing else. No, practice shit. Nothing about hockey. It's about her moving up in this organization to be a young woman where many young women don't get to go in hockey. Like, this is, at the time, it was kind of an unquestionably cool thing. And I mean, I don't know, smacks of fucking jealousy to me. Like, yeah. Emilie's like, I gotta sit around stinky old Jim Rutherford all day, and you get to hang out with the players and Bruce Boudreau. Fuck you. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
like there is definitely some like cattiness involved here, and of course, Castonguay and Bruce Alvin, the GM, categorically deny that this happened.
Of course.
Of course. And so, this is a matter for the courts, etc. Mm-hmm. But like, one, I think it just goes to show that all of the rumors that came out that, and some of which we reported here, about the reasons for Rachel Doerrie's firing were wildly speculative and completely wrong. And
she did not touch Brock Besser's lesbian mom hair.
And two, we really, while like a vast majority of the shit that goes on that's bad in hockey is from old hockey dudes, apparently like not so old hockey women are kind of awful too. Yeah. And it just shows that the culture is so omnipresent that you don't even realize you're participating in the culture sometimes.
Yeah. Misogyny can be perpetrated by women and often is.
So are you a pro-life woman? There you go.
Yeah. So hopefully, Rachel gets what she needs out of this lawsuit. This is a smart play, I think, on her behalf. She's been pretty mum until this came out, and hopefully she still has a future in hockey, but it seems maybe like that, I don't know, that might be unlikely. I hope that this isn't, a completely burned bridge in the NHL, because as you said, she did have other teams that wanted her services. But if what she says is true, this is pretty heinous. Yeah. So hopefully.
How does she feel about Metro Detroit?
Yeah, that could be fun.
I think, from the reports that we got from everybody involved with a team, and the very obvious step of her getting a promotion 6 months into working for the company or for the team, and
then getting fired weeks after getting this promotion,
right? But all of the writing suggests that she was awesome at her job.
Yeah, or at least competent enough.
Yeah, and so hopefully, but the interview that Bruce Boudreau gave, where he spouted how awesome she was at a golf outing.
Yeah.
It's not like he was at a press conference and was like, oh, and we've got Rachel Doerrie here. No, he was at a golf outing having fun and was like, oh yeah, we've got this person, Rachel Doerrie, who's absolutely killing it. In fact, we just gave her a promotion. And it's like, somebody who's doing that well for Bruce Boudreau, he didn't even swear in the middle of it. And that's kind of his thing.
He probably actually did. They just cut it out. There's just a thing where
some effective editing.
Yeah. Well, anytime he drops F-bombs, it just gets deleted.
He's on a 5-second delay.
Yeah.
And so hopefully there is a future out there in the hockey world. Should she want it? Should Rachel want it? We're, as a podcast, 100% in her corner, and in the corner of anybody who, just gets like so maliciously treated in this kind of fashion. So.
Yeah, and not only, did the Canucks fire her and whatnot, but she really got dragged through it by fans that like A, sounded like they wanted her to fail, and B, wanted an example of how women are, according to them, not right for hockey.
Are you saying that hockey fans were upset that women were succeeding in their sport?
Yes.
Dude.
I know. Crazy, right?
Never. Hockey fans?
I know.
And hockey media?
Saying awful things about women in hockey?
No.
Who would have thought?
I need to like reconsider some things now. This is blowing my mind.
Someone else that is going through a tough time that we extend our condolences and well wishes to is Kris Letang, who is out indefinitely after suffering a stroke.
The second of his career. He had another one in 2014.
Really?
And was out for 2 months. So,
he was only out for 2 months after that?
Yeah, and
time to trade for him in fantasy.
By all accounts, he's doing well. He's suffering no side effects. But I mean, in 2014, he was 28 or so.
And now he's 35.
Yeah. So my guess would be he's out for a little bit longer than that, just due to the being further down the age path.
Sure. Give me 4 beers at 28 versus 4 beers at 35. I'm out longer.
I don't even want 4 beers at 38. I'm like,
shut up.
Can I have like 4 beers?
Give me 12 beers. And then I die. Yeah. So this is, awful for Kris Letang, but thankfully, not thankfully, but thankfully, he does have some experience in battling back from this. And so it's not a new path that he has to walk on. These strokes are caused by, he has a hole in the linings of his heart. And so, this is just something that comes with that, and also playing any sport at the high level that he does.
Yeah, I have friends that have had strokes at, in their 20s and 30s, like from like getting hit by a car, or like one had one like after a really tough Swedish massage. Like
wow.
Strokes in young people aren't necessarily as uncommon as one might think.
But those people aren't playing in the NHL and making millions of dollars. So that's not to like dismiss your friends. It's just to say like, this is
right.
A very different circumstance. Like, one, you have somebody who is incredibly physically fit, like at the level where he can play NHL hockey games, but also that physical fitness is what is relied upon for him to continue doing his job. So,
well, and a stroke is not necessarily, any sort of indictment on him, somebody's physical fitness. Like,
right.
It happens to the fittest of people. And obviously someone around him, or he himself, is well-versed in identifying the signs of a stroke.
Yeah.
Which, let's go over right now. The acronym for identifying the signs of a stroke is FAST, be fast. Face, arms, speech, and time is how you identify a stroke. So often someone will have something happen to their face. They can't move far of their face. They'll have balance issues. Their eyes, may roll or be blurred or lose vision. They'll experience weakness or pain in one arm, and maybe weakness shows if you raise your arm, one might drop down. And then often speech is slurred, and that's maybe the most identifiable sign. Obviously, I'm having a stroke.
Not to be confused with just the times when you've been given 4 beers.
Yes, not to be confused with that. So, yeah, our hearts go out to Kris. Hopefully he can battle back from this quickly and safely and resume what is probably a Hall of Fame career.
Oh, absolutely. A Hall of Fame career. He's got 3 cups and playing at an extremely high level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to the Hall. Possibly going to the Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, he's making his case seem more and more ironclad as this season goes on because, well, he is on a roll.
Before this season, would you have put him in the same category as a PK Subban, as somebody who was incredibly good for a maybe not super long moment in time?
Yeah, I mean, maybe his moment was a little bit longer and he was a little bit better. But,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Karlsson was the best defenseman in the league for probably 3 years.
Yeah, it just seems like he has finally gotten fully healthy and must be, I don't know, in the best shape of his life or something, because he is putting up goals and points at an insane rate and like single-handedly keeping San Jose out of the Bedard sweepstakes. So it might actually be in...
That's why they want to trade him, really.
Right. I was going to say, he might be getting himself out of town because all of a sudden his $12 million contract looks more and more swallowable.
Palatable.
Yeah. If maybe they can retain some money. Because they got to get rid of him. They got to get rid of this dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 Norrises, and so Karlsson was probably a Hall of Famer already.
Yeah,
as
2
well.
Norrises, I think, puts you in there.
But, like, 2 Norrises, and I think he was top 2 twice, 2 more times. Yeah, he's turning in a turnaround performance from last year. I think he's already almost to his point total from last year.
Yeah,
in half as many games.
He has 32 points in 25 games this year.
Yeah, and he hasn't. That honestly would put him on pace for his best season ever. I think his best point total ever was 82 points in a full season, so a point per game. So he's ahead of his best pace ever. The asterisk here is how long does he stay healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't played over 56 games in a season for like 4 years.
Right.
But I also think part of what we're seeing is he's carrying an increased workload now that Brent Burns is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gives him, like, there's no shared time on the power play anymore. It's his, it gives him more freelance to do what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe his legs have finally like actually healed. They haven't been to the playoffs for a couple of years in a row, 4 years, like since he got there almost.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing for Ottawa 5 years ago when he suffered that really bad injury.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just finally turned it around physically. That's kind of what it seems like. But Mike Greer better hurry up and trade this dude before he turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah, and get a haul for him. They're probably going to have to retain some salary, but honestly, even if you retain like $3 million a year, that's still like $8 million a year off your books or whatever it is. So, yeah,
a haul meaning future considerations.
If you only get future considerations for Erik fucking Karlsson, then you have,
but the money, but the contract,
you lose. You lose that deal. Anyway, yeah, good job, Erik Karlsson. We always knew you had it, and no, we didn't. No,
I mean, it's definitely a
totally.
It's a positive surprise. It's like the one thing that Sharks fans have to hang their hat on this season, which is like, okay, that's fun. You have
Erik Karlsson's not dead.
You have a defenseman that is laying down goals and assists at a historic level. Like that. That's pretty cool, even in a lost season.
Yeah, he's making Cal Makar look like. Well, still like Cal Makar, but like...
Yeah, but what if Erik Karlsson comes back from the dead to win the Norris this year? That would be awesome.
It would be wild. It would be wild.
You know what else is wild? The fact that Matt Murray can't stop punting nets off of their posts. It's happened now 3 times in one game, and then another time another night. And like, it's pretty obvious that some of them are probably intentional. A couple of them, obvious accidents. And maybe there's something defective with the net. But he did it, I believe, in 2 different stadiums. So
all the nets are defective. Chris Osgood used to get accused of this occasionally, and I believe he got penalized for it a couple of times in his career, just like, delay a game penalties or whatever.
Yeah, there have been several instances where goalies have, just completely and totally purposefully unmoored the net and suffered the consequences. This is a little bit more, I don't know, clandestine, but also more apparent because he's done it so many times now in the past couple weeks. And it's definitely become a kind of like a Deflategate scenario. Like, you're cheating, but maybe not really. But, and I don't know. It's a little bit of a tricky situation because we don't, we're not on the ice. We're not the goalie, so we can't.
The goalie!
We can't ascertain his real intent, but some of them looked suspicious.
Yeah, honestly, it's gamesmanship in my book. Like, it's not like he's betting on games or anything.
Right,
like,
it's a professional hockey kind of bullshit move. Is it lame as hell? Yes.
Is it Bush League? Yeah, but whatever.
You drop kick the side of the net every time your team turns the puck over in your own zone. Yeah, that's fairly obvious. You know who could probably do to play better is Cal Peterson, who got...
If he gets another chance.
Yeah, got summarily waived by the Kings. Waived probably with the purpose of sending him to the AHL, but...
sending him a message.
Yeah. The 28-year-old was sent packing after he gave up 4 goals in 16 shots in relief of Jonathan Quick, who also gave up 4 goals, or maybe 5 goals.
Yeah.
In this insane Kraken King game we watched last night, which was like a roller hockey score. It was 8-8 going into overtime, and then the Kraken took it with an Andre Burakovsky goal in overtime. That was crazy. Defense optional.
Anytime an NHL game decides to directly follow the score from our Monday roller hockey game, you know that defense is optional and probably goaltending.
Yeah. Ain't nobody played good defense or goalie last night. That was crazy.
Yeah. I was watching the Wings game tonight, and they interviewed Steve Yzerman on TNT during the intermission, and Yzerman made a really good point, and I think you're really seeing kind of the fruits of it right now. With 32 teams in the league, that's 64 goalies, and are there really 64 NHL caliber goalies out there? Survey says no.
Yeah. Some teams don't even have one.
The Kings don't have one.
Chicago, they don't have one.
The Red Wings finally got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, every team in the league is hunting for goalie help outside of like New York and
New York,
Tampa.
And Shesterkin has not been playing well recently. So like,
but he's still OMG Igor, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Even the best goalies can be slumpy.
Yeah. This year it's like Connor Hellebuck for Vezina.
Yeah. And, competing against Martin Jones, who has the Kraken playing really well, and he has usurped Philip Grubauer as the starter. Martin Jones, who, I think anytime we've talked about him previously on this podcast, it was to make fun of Martin Jones.
I'm still going to.
Right. But they've won 6 in a row, and 11 out of their last 13. So, and Jones has backstopped almost all of those games.
Father Time like turned his steely gaze away from Martin Jones for a minute, and he's playing like it's 2014 again, which means the Kraken will make the playoffs and immediately he'll fall apart. But see, I told you we were going to still make fun of Martin Jones.
Of course.
But I feel like the Kraken are one of the best, like most feel good stories of the season, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they were so bad last year.
Yeah.
So bad. And, you know, got themselves Shane Wright, which early returns are not great, but they're very early returns.
Yeah. And I mean, he is super young.
And it was not considered, there weren't any no miss prospects in this year's draft. So,
No.
like, whatever. But
instead, they have Matty Beniers.
yeah. And so everybody, us included, really maligned Ron Francis and the leadership team out there. And, you know, we're still only like a quarter of the way through the season, so let's not like slob on their knobs just yet. But the early returns this year are that they had a good plan and they executed it. And are they still missing that, you know, high-end talent that teams that do well in the playoffs have? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Andrei Burakovsky, but he's probably not a first-line winger on a Stanley Cup winning team, right?
No, probably not, but he'll probably be a first-line winger on a playoff team.
Yeah, it's definitely looking that way this year. And I'll be very happy if the second Pacific Northwest team usurps the first Pacific Northwest team this year, which is looking like it's definitely going to happen because the Canucks are still pretty bad. I mean, they've been better as of late, but they're still pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the feel good stories of the season. Like the Kraken aren't terrible. In fact, they're pretty solid, and you know, cool. I think they're like second in the West right now.
Yeah.
Largely because I think a couple of teams have started poorly that we weren't, like the Avs and the Wild have started poorly, and we wouldn't have really expected that. Also the Oilers and the Flames. So
yeah, but I mean, the Kraken's wins of late have come over some good teams. I mean, they've beaten Vegas, they've beaten New York. They lost to Minnesota and Winnipeg. They've also beaten Pittsburgh twice. So, you know, are they for real? Maybe. Their Corsi numbers are still not great. They're not possessing very well, but if you get good goaltending, anything is possible.
yeah, and I'm sure we'll see some regression to the mean here as the season goes on. As you noted, goaltending is a finicky devil, and while you know we're certainly enjoying the Martin Jones renaissance,
Hopefully it lasts at least a couple months longer.
just long enough to get them into the playoffs. That would be
be
great.
fun. That would be great to just get second year playoff hockey into this barn. That would be a huge win for them. They're going to probably do what Buffalo can't and have the young kind of money puck squad make the playoffs.
I mean, Buffalo's still like 23 million under the cap, so like,
They can take Erik Karlsson.
I don't know if that's the best representation, but yeah, the Kraken are really good this year. It's awesome to see, and you know, we'll see if it continues. Also, in teams that are good, fucking Boston.
Yeah, holy shit.
And we're not talking in like a geriatric league on like the north side of Boston. We're talking about like the actual NHL team, the Boston Bruins.
Featuring some sort of geriatric league players.
Very good. Yeah.
David Krejci just came back from the geriatric league.
Yeah. He was like, you know what? After like being very good in this Chechen league, fuck it, I'll give it another shot.
Turns out I don't like Europe all that much.
It turns out I wanted smog and people giving me the finger.
Yeah.
Until they realize I'm David Krejci. And then they're like, this fucking guy. That is not an attempt at a Boston accent, by the way.
No, but the vibe is right.
Yeah, yeah. The Bruins are really fucking good. kudos, I guess, to their fucking GM for getting this one right. Don Sweeney fucked up everything else this year, but
but he successfully got the band back together, and now they're playing the Bruins version of the Chicago Bulls' Last Dance.
it's like every night somebody's asking them to play Freebird, and they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's give them what they want.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing so well, Taylor Hall's like happy to be sent down to the third line.
I think he had 2 goals last night.
Yeah, because Taylor Hall on the third line is a fucking cheat code. That's amazing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you want to put your third defensive pairing out against these guys?
And they've been doing it without Marchand and
McAvoy
for the most of it. Like,
yeah, you get back 2 of your like 4 best players, and it turns out you're better, and you're what, like 9-1 in your last 10 games or some shit.
Yeah. So now you said what, they're 13-2.
They're 19-3.
19-3. Sorry, numbers.
Yeah. They were 12-2.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
19-3, setting a historical record for, I think, most consecutive home wins to start a season.
Something like that. Like they have the best goal differential in the league. They have only given up 48 goals all season in 22 games. That's stupid. And that's with Jeremy Swayman not playing very well.
Yeah.
And Linus Ullmark being like, no, I got this. Don't worry, guys. Remember when all y'all said I was overpaid? Turns out not. Yeah. Turns out still really good.
Yeah. Boston fans must just be eating this up. Good for them. The highlights have been really cool. Like there was that one highlight of
their passing plays are just mean.
Yeah, and there was a one highlight I'm thinking of. I think it was like Pasta and Bergeron like passing the puck in air to each other and like tipping it down to themselves, and like absolutely choice highlights. So kudos to them.
I try and do that, and I hit myself in the foot with my stick. Like, wrong puck. Oops. Yeah. No. It's awesome to watch. Like on the other end of that spectrum is the Devils, who are incredibly young and are also just flying. I think they have the same amount of points, but like a couple more games played than Boston.
Yeah. The crazy thing about the Devils is their possession numbers. Their Corsi numbers are in like the absolutely untouchable category. I think
that's a cheat code. That speaking of cheat codes, yeah,
I think they're like above 65 or something, or like 70.
Yeah,
like possession. They are possessing the puck and taking 70% of the shots or something like that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe my favorite team to watch this season are the Devils.
Yeah, because they are all just wheeling and dealing.
They're absurd.
And like Jack Hughes hasn't been taking the full star turn that people thought he might this year, but he's still been good. He just hasn't been.
They haven't needed him to.
Yeah, Nico Hischier is really kind of the motor of that team, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, well, they've got Hischier and Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, and like, and this is with Andre Palat just like on IR, and Mackenzie Blackwood. Like they're doing this with their second and third string goalies. Actually, they're doing this with their third and fourth string goalies.
Because their goalies don't need to do anything. They're possessing the puck at such a ridiculous rate.
Yeah, but like Bernier's on long-term injured reserve. Mackenzie Blackwood's hurt. So it's like Vitek Vanacek, Nico Dawes, and Akira Schmid are their goalies.
Who?
And it's like, yeah, right? Like, and Vanacek, turns out both of the goalies that Washington gave up on last year are good.
Their goalie is Smee.
Yeah. Or Schmiegel. Actually, I prefer Schmee. That's better. Hook is so good. And, you know, they're kids too, right? Like their average age of their forward group is like 24 years old. That's ridiculous. And that's with like Eric Holla and Tomas Tatar on that team. Like their average forward age is so stupidly young.
Okay, so their 5-on-5 expected goals for has returned to earth somewhat. Around Halloween, it was at like 67%.
That's unspeakably high.
It is now down to like 61%, which is still absurdly high.
That's superhuman.
like
How
a-
dare they?
Like a very good team is like 55.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Bougie Hamilton is doing a good job.
Oh, he's having a fucking blast this year.
He's having a night at the museum.
He has every night at the museum if he wants. But on the flip side to good, we got Tankathon.
Bad?
Bad. Chicago.
Bad.
Bad. Philly.
Bad.
Bad, yeah.
And I mean, they've finally both been bad after they started like as a fake 500 team. Both of them. I mean, wasn't Philly like one of the 4 undefeated teams a couple weeks into the season?
Philly was like first in the East for a little bit there. They were flying.
And
Flyers flying. I hate myself and I want to die.
you know who else hates themselves and wants to die is John Tortorella, who, even when they were doing well, he was like, this ain't gonna last. And,
Yeah.
well, he was right.
Yeah. Well, they're banged up right now. JVR is hurt. Konechny's hurt. Tony D'Angelo's there, so
Yeah.
that's a bummer. He
that's the thing.
he got his face mashed by Oliver Wahlstrom the other night. That
I was
pretty
hoping
great.
I was hoping we could talk about this. I mean, who better to mash his face in than the human Bratz doll, Oliver Wahlstrom?
I jokingly, but only half jokingly, joked about awarding Oliver Wahlstrom a point in fantasy based 1 point per face punch on Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah.
And I would have done it, except it would have set a precedent where I had to do it all season.
Right. I love stupid prop things in fantasy, but we'll have to find some way to incorporate, like, I don't know,
Tony D'Angelo
hits on
face
Tony
punches.
D'Angelo.
Then I'd have to watch like every Philly game too.
No, it's a stat. Fantrax has it.
Oh, good kill. Fantrax has everything in terms of
But yeah, Oliver Wahlstrom looks like a character from an early 2000s sitcom like The OC. Like he has Nick Lachey hair.
But now.
Yeah, right, in 2022.
Yeah, he's not an LFO.
He likes girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Well, I mean, actually, I don't know if I've ever dated somebody who wore Abercrombie and Fitch.
Abercrombie and Fitch is they're on a comeback.
They make NHL jackets.
Yeah, and
Have
they
you seen
make
these?
cargo shorts, which are having a comeback too. Apparently, dirtbag chic is in these days.
Remember when? I mean, you're a couple years younger than me, so like when we were in like elementary school, junior high, somewhere in that era, where like if you wore Abercrombie, you were fucking cool.
Oh yeah, I was crazy about like the brands I didn't have, and like it was like I found this moment and just woke up in middle school somewhere. It was like, oh, everyone that is cool has this thing that I don't, and I started to be able to like look at the back tag and tell if it was like real Abercrombie or like a fake. Like it was,
Man, how sad are the people who had fake Abercrombie?
yeah, for real. I mean,
They're probably still wearing fake Abercrombie.
what's sadder, fake Abercrombie or real Aeropostale?
Touche. Touche.
I mean, as kind of solidly middle class, I was like an American Eagle kid. We couldn't afford Abercrombie, and frankly, I was too fat to fit into Abercrombie or look good in it. But
You're never too fat. You can always get it over your head. It's like what you look like in it.
Yeah, when you're chunky, muscle tee doesn't look good. Muscle tees with suggestive saying. It's like I did at some point then like have some Abercrombie shirts, and I think I prized them like they were fucking Armani suits. But
You like took them to the dry cleaners.
yeah,
As like a 14-year-old.
yeah, and one was like, it was like a cocaine joke and sex joke about like a snow plowing business or something. It's like,
Sounds about right.
yeah, I plow your mom's snow or something. I don't like it. Not very veiled, but I just remember, Abercrombie was a fucking moment. But also, so apparently the hot summer wedding dress this year was Abercrombie and Fitch.
Did it come with cargo shorts?
No, it was kind of classic. Britta got one, thinking she was going to wear it to the wedding. It has like kind of big shoulders and then kind of a low neck, very busty.
It's for them titties.
Yeah, for them titties.
So we're fans. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Abercrombie.
So speaking of Abercrombie, Arizona is also bad. Like part of me is like, okay, I'm going to have to cut this. And part of me is like, this is actually kind of funny. We'll see how it goes on rerun. Yeah. Arizona sucks too, but only because one, they want to, and two, they've played like 4 home games.
I feel so bad for them. Like they're basically traveling salesmen right now.
This is their new normal.
They're living the life of George Clooney from Up in the Air.
It's all because they can't play weekend games because the Arizona State Sun Devils hockey team is playing on weekends.
Which, like, that's gotta suck as a professional to be beholden to a college in such a way. But then when you are actually at home, apparently it rocks. Apparently it's just full of drunk college kids and they get really good vibes and it's fun. So maybe they get to play at home again and enjoy it, but this has got to be a super bleak season for those players.
Yeah, I mean,
there are reports that their new stadium project is moving, so that's at least
there's supposed to be a vote
here
this week, I believe, on whether or not they're going to move it forward. And the fact that they're doing it in Tempe, who housing them right now, that's pretty cool too. Like, fuck Glendale. Yeah, like, you want to build a stadium in Mesa? Eat my ass.
I would probably rather be in Tempe than Mesa. I mean,
hands down, yeah. Mesa is rough.
Yeah, my grandma used to live in Mesa, and it is 95% mobile home parks.
I've been to Phoenix twice, and both times it was like, oh, we're in Mesa. How did you know? I know.
They're like nice mobile home parks, sort of.
Some of them, yeah.
But
it's not where you go to retire. It's where you go to retire and die.
It's for you to go to retire from retirement. And then, so below Chicago, Philly, and Arizona somehow is Anaheim. I mean, there's like a 50-foot pile of shit between them, and then there's Anaheim. Anaheim is somehow uniquely pathetic this year.
Speaking of where you go to die, that's where John Klingberg went to die.
Apparently. And I mean,
so much for betting on yourself.
Poor John Gibson decided to turn into a pumpkin. The 1 year I did not draft him in fantasy hockey. I'm so glad about that. But
they need to get rid of him and just let him go try and resuscitate his emotional standing somewhere else.
I'm sure he's going to be a buy low for somebody at the deadline. Like, that's maybe one of the few pieces they have to trade now after they got rid of a lot
Josh Manson, and they have like Cam Fowler and
Adam
Henrique and Kevin Shattenkirk. Those guys. But yeah, there's not a lot left to siphon off there.
And I think Trevor Zegras is holding their fans' attention with amazing goals and crazy highlights. But the crazy stat to me is between the start of the league year, October 13th, something like that, and November 23rd, they have yet to win a game, or until November 23rd, they had yet to win a game in regulation. All of their wins were in overtime or shootout.
That's bad.
That is
uniquely bad.
Yeah, unique kind of pathetic. And so they are in pole position for the Connor Bedard sweepstakes.
Yeah, they have such a ridiculously young team as well. Let me rephrase that. They have a ridiculously young team, except for a bunch of people who they're about to try and trade at the deadline.
Yeah. But I mean, they also didn't have room for like Sonny Milano either. So
No, they did. They just didn't want him.
and you can sort of see why, but he's definitely also a talented young goal scorer. So I don't know. If you're a rebuild, I feel like that's a kid you kind of want to keep around just to see where he goes. But
I'm
maybe they
trust
just
Pat Verbeek, man. Pat Verbeek put work in Tampa and Detroit, and losing him actually was really bad for the Red Wings rebuild, honestly. But at the same time, I trust him in his ability to kind of rate young players effectively. So
yeah, agreed.
Anyways.
So going from tankathon to human tanks.
That was good.
Pat Maroon got fat shamed by yet another person again, but a little bit differently this time. I mean, you know, we've heard clips of him getting made fun of on the ice and stuff, and he's very affable and whatnot. But Jack Edwards of NESN, the Boston Bruins commentator who may or may not be drunk at any given time when he's on air, went a step too far and said things that are maybe like appropriate for this podcast, but not appropriate for an on-air presentation.
Well, we don't have
hockey.
Standards.
Right.
So.
We have neither access nor standards. He has ostensibly, well, he should have both, but I don't know, maybe not so much in the standards category these days.
I have a hard time believing that he has standards because, like, he is one half of the worst commentator team in the NHL.
They're bad in that they're just like unabashed homers, and like I kind of enjoy their banter because it is sort of like a podcast at times. I think
even
that's
Boston fans are like,
right. They don't like him that much.
Yeah.
Same, but yeah, his comments were talking about Maroon's weight and saying that 238. Well, it's probably not that anymore, and
because it's something about pizzas, eating whole pizzas, and yeah.
And then he said like, oh, he's fasting, going 4 hours without a meal is intermittent fasting. And it's like, that's a normal amount of time between meals for a human being. That's 8 o'clock to noon. So that's breakfast to lunch.
Yeah. And everybody has a snack between their noon lunch and their like 7 o'clock dinner or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, in context, it was,
not horrible, but like douchey.
Oh, absolutely. Just totally douchey. And
which is par for the course for Jack Edwards. Really.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that's why the people who like him like him. So you know what Pat Maroon of many jet skis and several Stanley Cups did is he
bought another jet ski.
No.
Oh.
I mean, maybe. We don't know that. But he took the high road. He tweeted that he was sending $2,000 to Tampa Bay Thrives, which is a nonprofit that supports people who struggle with mental health and substance abuse issues. And seems like maybe Jack Edwards could use some of their services.
Maybe Tampa Bay Thrives used that money to buy a jet ski.
I mean, $2,000.
Anybody use jet ski?
Yeah.
What better to help with mental health and substance abuse issues than a jet ski? Probably counseling and like real therapy and stuff. But like outside of the things that everybody should be doing who suffers from those maladies, having a jet ski is way up there.
Yeah, I think that there's some amount of therapy that is accomplished by just riding a jet ski at full fucking speed across a lake in the middle of the summer.
My best friend growing up, his parents lived in this cool house in like the downtown area of a small Midwestern city, and they bought a house on the lake. And I was like, oh, this sucks. I loved their old house. I'm never going to like the new house. What? You got a jet ski? I'm in. And yeah, you can have a lot of fun and cause a lot of mischief on a jet ski. So yeah, all in on Pat Maroon's jet ski lifestyle. Tampa Bay is the perfect place for him for that. But This is like Pat Maroon is not famous for, but has a history of going back and forth with various media personalities and just like jokers online.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, he was like, nah, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to do something for the greater good.
Right.
And, immediately Steven Stamkos retweeted it and he donated as well. And it kind of created, as a lot of these things do when athletes or famous folks donate to a cause, a lot of people are like, you know what, I've got some change laying around, fuck it, I'm going to donate too. So there was a nice little surge in donations to Tampa Bay Thrives because of this, and all because of some douchehole in the in the Northeast decided to like flex his douchehole muscles.
How are you not using the term masshole right now? That's what I want to know.
I'm embarrassed for myself.
But yeah, Pat Maroon did what Jack Edwards was obviously unable to do and read the room.
Showed some decency.
And, even Frank Saravelli, like, said what everyone has been thinking about Jack Edwards for years and says, you actually sound drunk.
Which, I mean, if you've watched a Red Wings broadcast and listened to Mickey Redmond, kind of similar.
Oh, absolutely.
Mickey Redmond has to refer to adult beverages as ginger ales now because he used to talk too much about drinking on air.
That's super funny.
He's the best. I fucking love Mickey Redmond.
Yeah, the color commentary across the NHL is pretty hit or miss sometimes, but it's really very funny even when it's awful sometimes. And those two are maybe some of the principal.
Mickey Redmond's the best in the biz. I fucking love that guy.
I am partial to Eddie Olchuk's weird like horse racing comments.
Yeah, in the middle of the game, you get the odds on like the Kentucky Derby, and you're like, all right. Sure, Eddie. Well, that's it for us tonight. We thank you all for participating in this wild ride that is the Handsome Hockey Podcast. We're having a fun time humming along, singing our song and dancing a little jig. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm going to leave this in because it's completely absurd, but
I mean, we can dance a jig if need be.
I'm not Irish, despite their red beard. Well, formerly red beard, now white beard. It's cinnamon and sugar is what I call it.
That's your pirate name, Cinnamon and Sugar Beard.
That pirate name would get your ass beat.
That's sort of the idea.
You'd get knifed, like, for fun. Somebody would be like, who's that guy over there with the swagger? They'd be like, that's Cinnamon and Sugar Beard. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to knife that bitch.
Well, if you want to knife us, you can find us on the internet at handsomehockey.com. We are at Handsome Hockey Podcast on the Instagram. At Handsome Hockey on Twitter until Elon bans us. HandsomeHockeyPod at gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page, coincidentally called Handsome Hockey.
The knife us comment was metaphorical.
Please don't actually knife us.
Please do not knife us. We're people kind of like us.
If you
like, people would be sad. My mom would be so sad.
If you have to, keep it to like 2 or 3 inch blade,
or like
a letter opener.
Or like Jake and the Neverland Pirate sword. Like, that'd be better.
Use one of those costume swords that like collapses.
Yeah. Like it might hurt, but like it won't actually stab me. That would be the best. All right. Take care, everybody. Fuck me. I can't. I'm just.
You just don't want it to end.
I just don't. I can't even sing tonight. Today is the worst day ever. Anyways, stay handsome, everybody.
Restez beau, tout le monde.